what's going on, y'all? T-Bob here.
And Jake as well.
And you're about to watch a little OTB LSU.
We're going to give you all the latest, greatest between LSU football, baseball, women's basketball, softball, and everything in between.
Bottom line, if you want to talk Tigers, keep it locked, subscribe, like it. Right now, we are very pleased to be joined by someone, if you're listening to this and you're going to watch the LSU football game on Saturday, you will see and hear her as a part of the broadcast team coming up in the swamp for LSU-Florida. All season long, she's been teaming up with Dave Pasch and Dusty Dvorak to call these games, and that is Taylor McGregor, at Taylor McGregor on all your various social medias. Taylor, what's going on? Thank you so much for waking up with us this morning.
Guys, pleased to be on. I've enjoyed following you guys for a while, and I hear all about you from Ben Mintz all the time. So it's good to be on chatting with you guys.
Well, I apologize that Mincy seems to be talking to you so much. But I am very happy to talk to you myself because y'all get insight that us on the outside do not on these teams, and talking to coaches and your prep work leading up to these games. What has been the thing that, like, what are you chewing on right now? What's been the thing that most interests you coming into Saturday's game?
Well, I think with LSU, big picture, all the fans know the problems have been turnovers, and the problem on defense has been stopping a mobile quarterback. And so how does that change Saturday, especially if it is DJ Lagway who starts for Florida? I think what I'm interested in right now is how they are simplifying the game plan for Garrett Nussmeier to make the mistakes limited on Saturday, because the past 6 quarters have not gone well. And I think it's a little bit of a snowball effect where, maybe you don't trust your eyes as much as you did before the turnovers. And so how does he respond to some of the fundamentals that they've tried to get back to this week? And then, of course, stopping the run in the mobile quarterback. They felt they had a good game plan going into Alabama, and that game plan did not work. So what adjustments will be made, and will those adjustments work? And they've been working tirelessly to try to figure it out. I think they're as frustrated as the fans, and I'm curious to see how that plays out. Now, as far as Florida, the question everybody has is, will DJ Lagway play? And if he does play, how mobile will he be, considering the fact that he missed last week with a hamstring injury? I believe he's going to play, and I do not know how limited he will be because of that hamstring injury. But it is something that I will follow, and we meet with Florida coaches tomorrow, so
nice.
Certainly interested on that information.
Yeah, Taylor, and this game's big for obviously both teams, and it's big for Florida because they haven't missed bowl games in back-to-back seasons since 1978 and 79. It has been a long time since Florida has had, losing seasons like this. And so, like, this game, because they have Ole Miss in the next game, and then, of course, they finish up with Florida State, like, it is massive for them. It's a team that's still fighting hard. They play hard for Billy Napier right now, but if they miss a bowl game, I mean, that just feels like, even though Billy's already got the vote of confidence to come back, it's just going to be just devastating to this program.
Yeah, and for me, I almost feel like this is the start of his next season. They went down to Texas. That was a really disappointing loss. But DJ Lagway didn't play. And for me, part of the reason they gave him the vote of confidence is because, as Pete Thamel reported, 70% of their NIL money is tied up in these younger players, and DJ Lagway's right at the top of the list of the guys they care about. And so, if DJ is healthy and plays this week, this is the start of his next season. And what does this group look like collectively going into the offseason, so then that they can supplement some pieces around him and try to get Florida football back to where they believe it should be? So I'm with you. It's important. And we always talk about, in this era of college football, once teams are quote unquote eliminated, she tried to say, from the playoff, what do they play for? And I do think, because there are so many young players on Florida who have never been to a bowl game, that is still of interest to them. They want to go to a bowl game because they've never experienced it. And while that isn't the ultimate for the fan, for these players, that certainly is a goal. So they're playing hard for Napier, and like I said, with Lagway back, I think it's a dangerous team. And then obviously LSU, their chances of making the playoff have gone significantly down, but there's still a chance, So it's an important game for them too.
Talking to Taylor McGregor, she'll be on the call this weekend alongside Dave Pasch, Dusty Dvorak for LSU-Florida. Who's funnier, Taylor, Dave or Dusty?
That's it. I'm
Look, they're not going to hear this.
No.
Actually, Jake and Dusty. Go ahead.
I think it's Dave.
Yeah,
yes.
I can sense it.
Thank you,
dude.
Thank you so much, because me and Dusty are on Channel 84 together, and thank you for giving me that information.
Yeah, it's Pasch.
Yeah, tell him about the double names, and he'll know. He'll know what I'm talking about.
Okay.
Yeah, so he does some funny stuff. I mean, Dusty's great too. We have a good group. It's been fun.
Here's the thing about Dusty. You ever seen pictures of him from his playing days, Taylor?
Yes. So last weekend we had Tennessee, Mississippi State, and Josh Heupel, Jeff Lebby met at Oklahoma. Well, Dusty was a player during that time, so we had their 3 headshots up, and we were debating who looked the least like they did in college or in that time, the early 2000s. And, Jeff Lebby, head coach of Mississippi State, for those unfamiliar, he has changed quite a bit, so has Josh Heupel. But my pick was Dusty. Dave disagreed with me, but I was like, how can you tell me that people would be able to know this was Dusty Dvorak? You would not. We know because we've seen the photo a bazillion times, but yeah, it's wild. And we did an Oklahoma game earlier in the season and went over to him and his wife Lacey's house, and Lacey brought out their wedding album. That was even more interesting. Him on his wedding day. It was great.
Well, I mean, he's got all the tats. He had the long hair. He was a white nose guard, which those guys are always just dirty and just psychopaths, thrown off, hard partiers. Do you ever see any of that old demon come out of Dusty when you're on the road? Maybe like a Friday night dinner or something?
Okay, so here's what I will say. Obviously, I am down on the field during the game. So, unfortunately, I do not get to witness firsthand what it's like to call a game in the booth with Dusty Dvorak. But I've seen videos and I've seen photos. And this man gets down into a 3-point stance in the middle of a game because he's so into it. So I think if it shows up at all, it's during the broadcast because he gets so fired up and he gets so excited and really feeds off the energy of a good crowd, a good game. So he's about as healthy as it gets when it comes to the food he consumes, his daily habits. So we don't see a lot of that at dinner or in our day-to-day. But during the game, it's something.
Taylor, what about you? You're a proud Arkansas alum, and this weekend is witnessing the rebirth of one of the toughest, or I would say one of the classic college football rivalries, Arkansas, Texas. How we feeling about the Hogs taking on the Longhorns this weekend?
Yeah, it's been a lot of fun to see that rivalry renewed, and I heard Jesse Palmer say on the broadcast last week that Arkansas fans almost hate Texas more than they like themselves. And it's interesting because I am a little too young to really remember the old Southwest Conference days. However, my dad went to Arkansas, and so growing up, there were footballs in his office from the Texas-Arkansas games. So that was sort of, and I grew up in Colorado, so I didn't get to go to Arkansas football games a ton, but when I would think about Arkansas football, I saw Arkansas, Texas everywhere in his office. And so for me, it was really cool to sort of see the rivalry rebirth and live back in the days that my parents grew up on, the rivalry my parents grew up on. So super excited for the fans up there. It's going to be an electric atmosphere. Hogs have had 2 straight losses, obviously, against LSU and then against Ole Miss that have been pretty tough, and all of that coming after the big win against Tennessee. Now, I did hear Jaquindon Jackson is back healthy, which will be a huge piece. And then you obviously saw when Taylon Green got hurt, they don't have much behind him at quarterback. So they need their team to be healthy and their playmakers to be healthy as well. So we'll see. It's going to be an interesting game. And, if they can beat Texas, gosh, talk about the craziness of the SEC.
Yeah.
I think LSU fans actually want that to happen because it increases their chances of going to the SEC championship game.
Absolutely.
Well, I mean, speaking of chaotic energy, Taylor, I mean, this college football season has had a ton of it already. And you look at the playoff, picture right now. I mean, literally none of us had Indiana or BYU anywhere close to where they're currently at. So there's been a lot of great stories. The Service Academy certainly are a great story. What's been maybe your favorite story, though, so far in this college football season, just considering we've had a lot of things that we thought would never happen actually are playing out?
Yeah, I think the parity, right? For so long we had been used to the big boys competing, and that was sort of who you expected to be in the college football playoff every year, whether that was, Michigan for the last, 5, 6, 7 years, obviously Georgia, Alabama, LSU, when they've had good teams, have been up there. And it was Clemson for a couple years there. It was the same teams. And now, whether that's NIL, transfer portal, so many, the expanded playoff, so many different reasons why it just feels like so many more teams are in it, and for good reason. And so that's been really fun. And too, as a broadcaster, it's made the job more fun, too, because we all want to do games that matter. And at this point in the season, there are so many games that matter every single weekend. And that's been really, really exciting and fun. And I think that's been my favorite part. I do live in Chicago, so I'm surrounded by a ton of Indiana alum.
Yeah.
And, they never cared that much about college football. But this year it's been cool to see fan bases excited about their team, and you guys have all seen and watched the games there, and the fans and just the crowds they're getting. I when we used to have the Big Ten, I did a couple games there, and can't say it was my favorite place to do a game because there was never anybody in the stands.
Yeah.
And now it's electric. So I love that. I love when people are passionate, and I think the parity around college football has made more college football fans passionate.
Wow, Jake, what incredible takes.
I mean, those guys, they're just the best.
I think so. And if you think so, again, hit the like button, subscribe, ring the bell so you get notifications when we post every single day here on OTB LSU.